Today is all about this beauty right here. And I'm gonna share with you the photos of the first time that I shot with this lens. So my wife and I are wedding photographers, and like I talked about a little bit in my last video, coming into this season this year, we completely changed all of our gear, and one of the big focuses for me was to have the most simple gear as possible and really focus down into one or two things that I used over and over again. And for our digital work, this is the lens. This beautiful thing is a thing that I use all the time. And so I got this a few months ago before our wedding season really started. And I took it out a few times just to test the lens to make sure I actually liked it as my primary lens. And I was a little nervous at first. I had watched some videos on YouTube, people's reviewing it, stuff like that. And I was a little nervous for a few reasons. I was nervous about the cost of the lens. It was very expensive. I was nervous about the size and the weight of the lens, to whether this was something, could I be carrying this around the entire day on a wedding day, as well as my Contax 645, which the thing is a beast. So I'm gonna have I was nervous about having these two massive cameras on me the whole day, and whether that was sustainable, whether I liked working with it. And then I was like, I don't know, is this going to give me the quality that I wanted? Is this gonna give me the image quality, the dreaminess that I was looking for to complement with my Contax 645? Picked up these cameras, the Nikon Z6 IIs, I first had a battery grip on it. When I had this lens on this camera with the battery grip, it felt very uneven. I hated it. I hated the weight distribution, and I thought that was actually the lens's fault. And I shot it without using the battery grip, and I loved it. I kind of thought that this camera was too short for my fingers and it was too small, but I actually ended up liking the smaller body and the bigger lens. And I felt like the weight distribution was better. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I liked it more without the battery grip on there. And I ended up liking the size and the weight. The lens that I used previously to this was the Sigma 50 1.4 art lens, and I loved that thing. I thought it was really beautiful, but I actually didn't realize that it is about the same weight as this thing. Even though this is longer than it is about the same weight. And so once I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm used to carrying that thing around. This won't be too bad. I don't think about the weight or the size anymore. In fact, I kind of love that it is a honkin' massive lens. It makes me feel good, you know? I have the other mirrorless 50, so just look at the size difference between those two things. And then I have the good old 50 nifty 1.8. Look at the size difference between these two things. For it being a 1.2 lens, I was nervous that 1.2 would be so shallow, it would be unusable, it would be really hard to be in focus on the eyes. But I am so surprised and shocked at the capabilities of the face finder focused thing on these new cameras. And I've been so pleasantly surprised with how sharp this lens is. Using it with the new body, how good it is at detecting eyes and face. And I've been hitting so many more on focus shots than I did with my previous Sigma art lens and my 750. So it's so sharp. Like, it's crazy how sharp it is for it being a 1.2. I do have this 51.8 as well, and I will say that this little guy is quite remarkable as well. I would say when you shoot them side by side, if you shot them at 1.8 side by side, you can't tell the difference. Like, maybe you can't necessarily tell the difference all the time between 1:1 photos, but because we're wedding photographers and because we don't shoot in just like 1:1 photos, we're shooting galleries of photos or albums of photos. And when you have photo after photo after photo, that's when you can start telling. When you have collections of photos together, that little tiny difference, I think, makes the difference. The bokeh, the narrow depth of field, and all of that jazz. A really important thing for me is that the look of the background, the bokeh, matches or at least complements well with my Contact 645 and that 80mm Zeiss lens, because it has to. Like, there's not an option. If it doesn't work well, it's gone, because it has to complement my film work. And I will say it is different. It's different than the Zeiss lens for sure. It's different than the Sigma art lens. I would describe it as a lot more smooth, like really soft and dreamy, which I've actually really come to love. I was kind of nervous about that because I knew that's how people were describing it. And I kind of wanted a little bit more like textured bokeh. I wanted it to really like jump out and like grab you. But it's different in that sense. But I really love it. I don't have any other words to describe it besides that. But it is the most soft, dreamy background bokeh that I have ever shot with a lens. Even though it is different than the Contax lens, I think it complements it really well. The lens build quality, like it definitely feels like a solid piece of glass. It feels less like a weapon. Like the Sigma art lenses felt like a bit of a weapon because they were small and they were weighty things. So I feel like because this is a little bigger, it feels less like a weapon and more like a lens, I guess. That's weird. I will say I've noticed some like scrapes along, it's just like this one little part, but it's just this little bevel right here. I don't know if you can see the scrapes or not. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. But there's like these kind of funny scrapes on the lens. And I'm wondering if it's maybe how it sits with my Peak Design clip or what it does. It doesn't look like that anywhere on the lens, but it seems like it kind of easily has scrapes on there. So that's my one thought about kind of the build qualities. One thing that was very annoying is this like dial here. This is a complete, I don't know what they were thinking when they put this here, but I hate it. I changed this within the first like 20 minutes of shooting because every time I pulled the camera up to shoot, I always had my other hand here and it was changing the aperture like all the time. So I just turned this thing off and I don't use it at all. I just want to be able to hold the lens and that's it. I don't want to be doing things with my other hand. One kind of annoying thing, even though it's not annoying because I realize the reason of it, is that the filter size is 82 millimeters, which like I kind of wish it was 77 because everything in the past, like I have a few filters and things that are all 77, but that's just like a little annoyance I had because we have like some close-up filters and other things that we use that we just have to get new for this, which is fine, but just something to note that it's a different filter size. Overall, I am in love with this lens. It exceeded my expectations and more, and I would definitely buy it over and over again. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting like just the top of the line glass that you can get to shoot with Nikon, I would highly recommend this thing, especially if you're looking at just getting one lens that you're going to just like dedicate yourself to. I think this is an excellent option for that.